Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract, first published in 1762, remains one of the most significant works in political philosophy, shaping the trajectory of modern political thought. Rousseau's main concern was to explore the concept of political legitimacy, asking the question, what is the legitimate foundation of a political community? Through this work, he introduced radical ideas that would influence the French Revolution and subsequent democratic movements worldwide. Rousseau's vision of society, citizenship, and individual liberty revolutionized the understanding of political relationships. The nature of the social contract. Rousseau opens The Social Contract with the provocative statement, "Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains." This quote encapsulates the central problem Rousseau seeks to address: the paradox of human freedom in a world where people are subject to authority, rules, and institutions. Rousseau's inquiry begins with an analysis of the natural state of man, a condition where individuals were free, equal, and lived according to their basic instincts and needs. In this state, there were no distinctions of wealth, power, or social class. However, as society developed, so did inequalities, which led to the creation of laws, institutions, and systems of governance that restricted individual freedom. Rousseau's social contract proposes that the solution to this problem lies in the creation of a political community based on collective agreement, which would restore the individual's autonomy while promoting the general welfare. Rousseau's social contract is a theoretical model in which individuals voluntarily come together to form a collective body that governs through the general will. This idea of the general will is central to Rousseau's political theory. The general will represents the collective interests of the people, transcending individual desires and preferences. It is not simply the sum of all individual wills, but a common interest aimed at the common good. Rousseau emphasizes that the general will should guide the state's decisions, ensuring that the social contract is not merely a set of individual agreements, but a mutual commitment to the public interest. The sovereign and the government. Rousseau distinguishes between the sovereign and the government. The sovereign, which is the collective body formed by the people, embodies the general will. It is the ultimate authority in the state and cannot be subject to any other power. The government, on the other hand, is the institution responsible for executing the will of the sovereign. The government's role is to administer and enforce the laws that derive from the general will. In Rousseau's view, the government must remain accountable to the sovereign, meaning that it derives its legitimacy from the consent of the governed. If the government fails to act in accordance with the general will, it loses its legitimacy and can be replaced. Rousseau, unlike earlier political theorists such as Hobbes, does not endorse the idea of an absolute sovereign. Instead, he argues for a form of democracy in which power is exercised collectively by the people, and not concentrated in the hands of a ruler or elite. Rousseau also addresses the issue of representation in government. He does not advocate for representative democracy as we understand it today, where elected officials act on behalf of the people. Instead, Rousseau believes that every citizen must directly participate in the creation and implementation of laws. He suggests that in small republics, citizens could meet regularly to debate and decide on matters of governance, but in larger states, the issue becomes more complicated. While he acknowledges the practical limitations of direct democracy, Rousseau insists that the general will cannot be truly represented by a few individuals. It must remain a direct expression of the collective body. The general will and freedom. One of the most intriguing and controversial aspects of Rousseau's social contract is his conception of freedom. Rousseau argues that individuals can only be truly free when they act in accordance with the general will. Freedom is not defined as the ability to do anything one desires, but rather the ability to act in ways that promote the common good. In this sense, Rousseau's concept of freedom is deeply connected to his idea of the social contract. For Rousseau, freedom is not merely the absence of restraint, but the ability to participate in a political system that reflects the will of the collective. This can be contrasted with the modern liberal conception of freedom, which is often defined as the protection of individual rights and autonomy. Rousseau's ideal of freedom requires a collective commitment to the general will. even if it requires individuals to give up certain personal desires or interests. This notion may seem paradoxical, as Rousseau insists that one is free only when subject to the general will, yet the general will is inherently collective and may sometimes contradict personal desires. However, Rousseau argues that true freedom arises from participating in the common good, which ultimately benefits all members of society. The role of the state. The state's role, according to Rousseau, is to enforce the general will and maintain the conditions for the common good. It is not merely an instrument for regulating conflicts between individuals, but a moral entity responsible for creating a just society. Rousseau believes that a just state is one that promotes equality, ensures the welfare of all citizens, and guarantees liberty by acting in accordance with the general will. Unlike Hobbes, who viewed the state as a necessary evil to prevent chaos, Rousseau sees the state as a moral and legitimate expression of the collective will. This makes the state an active participant in fostering the conditions necessary for human flourishing. However, Rousseau is also cautious about the potential dangers of state power. He warns that the state must never become a tool for the domination of one group over another, and that citizens must remain vigilant in ensuring that the general will is faithfully represented. The problem of inequality. Rousseau's social contract addresses the problem of inequality within society, which he argues is a central source of conflict. In his earlier work, Discourse on the Origin and Basis of Inequality Among Men, Rousseau critiques the rise of private property as the root cause of inequality. He contends that the establishment of property rights led to social divisions, with some individuals accumulating wealth while others remained impoverished. This created a system of inequality that was perpetuated by political institutions designed to protect property and power. In The Social Contract, Rousseau proposes that a just society must address the problem of inequality by ensuring that all citizens are treated equally, and that the wealth and resources of society are distributed in a way that benefits the common good. He advocates for a system of laws that curtail extreme wealth disparities and promote social cohesion. Although he does not reject private property outright, he argues that property rights must be balanced with the needs of the community. The ideal society. Rousseau's ideal society is one in which individuals participate actively in the political life of the community, and the state functions as a moral entity that promotes the common good. In such a society, the general will would guide the decisions of the government, ensuring that they reflect the collective interests of the people. This form of governance would be democratic, with citizens directly involved in lawmaking and political decision-making. However, Rousseau acknowledges that the ideal is difficult to realize, especially in large societies. For Rousseau, the social contract is not just a theoretical concept, but a call to action. He challenges individuals to think critically about the political structures they inhabit and to consider how they might contribute to creating a more just and egalitarian society. Rousseau's work continues to inspire political thinkers, revolutionaries, and activists who see his vision of a democratic, participatory, and morally just society as an ideal worth striving for. In conclusion, The Social Contract by Jean-Jacques Rousseau presents a powerful critique of existing political systems and a radical reimagining of political legitimacy. Rousseau's emphasis on the general will, collective sovereignty, and the moral role of the state offers an alternative to both absolutist monarchies and emerging forms of liberal democracy. While his ideas about direct democracy and the general will may seem idealistic or impractical in modern contexts, Rousseau's core belief in the importance of equality, freedom, and the common good continues to resonate in contemporary political discourse. The work remains a landmark in political philosophy, offering deep insights into the nature of authority, individual freedom, and the pursuit of justice.